Hello dear viewer, this is my first real video, so don't expect this to be super high quality or anything like that. I must also admit that I am American, so I'm not super familiar with the UK outside of a few things. So feel free to correct me on anything. Enjoy the video. The history of fruit winders. In the very early 2000s, Kellogg was looking to expand its empire by releasing a large campaign for a fruit snack release in the United Kingdom. The fruit snack was known as Real Fruit Winders. They are long fruit gummy strips stuck to wound-up backing paper. Their fruit content appealed to children's moms' health concerns. A secret language called Chew Chat was also conceptualized, a language of characters without definite meanings that could be stamped on the snack and spread as a hidden code between kids. Before the product's release, stickers with the Chew Chat characters were distributed to malls and various venues, and November of 2000 would introduce an unbranded website where you could send those Chew Chat characters to friends. In February of 2001, likely after the snack's launch, scared fruit started appearing on the website, and weeks later, a group of edgy antagonistic mascots would appear, known as the Chew Chat Gang. The gang was made up of sadistic humanoid fruit who would find ways to transform small, living fruit into fruit winders, each member representing a flavor. Blabber the Orange would use various forms of entertainment and media to wind up oranges, Sorbet the Strawberry used her celebrity status, dancing, and DJing to wind up strawberries, and Booster the Blackcurrant used high-tech gadgets and thingamabobs to wind up blackcurrants. Printed on the backing paper for fruit winders were comics featuring the gang's antics, also appearing in comics such as the Beano and the Dandy in full color, with Flash animated adaptations being featured on the website for Chew Chat. The mascots also had their own games on the website, and even appeared on a few microsites hosted on partnered websites. In June of 2001, the first two animated advertisements created for the snack would air on TV, featuring Sorbabe and Blabber. These advertisements were created by Leo Burnett and featured Lenny Henry as a narrator. In 2002, special collectible twisted tiles started appearing in boxes of fruit winders. In addition to two new advertisements featuring Booster and Sorbabe, a new advertisement was released for a new flavor, Apple, with a new member added to the Chew Chat Gang as well. Max the Green Apple would use her sporty, high-speed activities to wind up green apples. In 2002, a Winders Keepers promotion was also held, where it was possible to win one of a million prizes from opening a special silver Winders wrapper. And in the following year, the promotion was ran again with double the prizes. These prizes included, but were not limited to, ringtones, video games, fast food, game consoles, sports gear, and free fruit winders. Both promotions brought an advertisement with them in their respective years, but the most notable of the promotions was yet to come. In 2003, an online survey was held. The consumers were able to vote on what fruit winders flavor would be released next. Would the Berry Brothers receive their raspberry winders? Would the Sour Stands get their lemon winders? Or would the Tropic Tribe obtain their tropical winders? In addition, kids could also vote for what will end up stretching them in the final TV commercial. They could vote for a grand piano, sumo wrestler, whale, lawn roller, and a steel drum band. Kids could also play a game on the website called Fruit Test Dummies, where they could test out the different fruit and stretcher combinations. 3 TV commercials were produced for the promotion, and the results were shown on the final one that aired around July. In the end, the steel drum band squashed the grapefruit and stretched it into a tropical winder, and a new member of the Chew Chat Gang was unveiled. Food Juice the grapefruit uses his magic powers to wind up tropical fruit, and he's quite an anomaly compared to the other characters, as he targets 3 fruit instead of 1. These fruit were grapefruit, passion fruit, and bananas, which were the ingredients in the tropical winders. Later that year, Real Fruit Winders would become Screamin Fruit Winders and would be joined by a little brother, Screamin Fruit Squidgers. Fruit Squidgers were pouches of crushed fruit that could be squeezed out, and came in strawberry, blackcurrant, and apple. The original 4 members of the renamed Screamin Fruit Gang would appear in a commercial that was planned to air in August of that year. Screamin Fruit Spurters, Winder's little sister, would be released later. Coming in small bags containing each of the original 4 flavors, Fruit Spurters were small gummy candies that were filled with fruit juice. A commercial, once again featuring the Screamin Fruit Gang, would air at some point in time during 2004. In 2004, the Lemon and Raspberry Limited Edition flavored fruit winders ended up releasing, and with them came new mascots, though at the moment they're completely shrouded in mystery, so we'll talk about them later. Additionally, Fruit Squidgers were discontinued around April of 2004. Around the release of the Raspberry Winders, as a collaboration with DreamWorks Animation's Shark Tale, Fruit Winders and Fruit Spurters had special temporary tongue transfers, which were tattoos for your tongue. Eventually, Fruit Winders were split in half to become Fruit Winders Doubles, Spurters were discontinued, and only the strawberry, blackcurrant, and apple flavors remained. The campaign fizzled out, the Screamin Fruit Gang somehow continued to appear in the Doubles comics for many, many years, but around the new 20s they disappeared and were replaced with basic activity sheets. That's all I'm going to talk about for history. It took a lot of research to gather information, and it was even more difficult because the websites that provided information about the campaign would often end up blocking you out of viewing any of their articles. Now, I'd like to talk about my own experiences with Fruit Winders. Please stay tuned. My experiences with Fruit Winders. I was first introduced to Fruit Winders when scrolling through the Cursed Commercials YouTube playlist and coming across the strawberry advertisement from 2001. When I continued to scroll through the playlist, I found one or two more commercials and became interested. I wasn't super invested yet though, but at some point I was reminded of the commercials while watching a live streamer react to commercials. One of the commercials submitted was the 2001 Strawberry Fruit Winders commercial. At some point, while watching their reaction, I became super interested in these commercials and the characters in them, eventually leading to my research and the discovery that many media related to Fruit Winders had been lost, hidden, or not on the internet. Which leads us to Early Fruit Winders Media Investigation. I've already been a fan of lost media searches and the entire idea for years at this point, but suddenly I was motivated to discover and preserve media relating to Fruit Winders. To try and gather information from others, I made a post on the Lost Media Wiki and subreddit, and few had come forward with information or interest, but we'll get to that soon. There was some misinformation floating around the internet, and I decided to try and fix up some particularly inaccurate fandom wikis. The page I made my hub of information for Fruit Winders Media was the page on the Ab Mascot Wiki, which used to be a gross page that randomly assigned familial relationships and favorite colors to the characters. Over time, that page has become my big hub, maybe even holding too much information. When it comes to misinformation spread across the internet, most of it was misnaming the mascots. For some reason, somebody just started calling Max Sweaty, and it spread to a few sites. However, the name Max could still easily be proven by an image of a Flash animation from a portfolio site that appeared often on Google Images. Voojuice was referred to as Voodoo on a few pages, which is much more understandable a mistake. On the portfolio site for Stuart Harrison, the prominent artist for the campaign, art of the character with the name displayed could be found. I think that's enough blabbering. Get it? Let's get to the meat, the actual media I was searching for. Leads rise from Nowheresville. The Lost Media subreddit post I made did bring some attention to Fruit Winders. The user u/inevitablememory61 notified me of a few .swift files from a Wayback Machine archive of the old Fruit Winders site. 2 games and 3 miscellaneous .swifts used for the site itself, though one of the games, specifically the Fruit Test Dummies game from 2003, was stuck on a loading screen. I also discovered some .swifts from the Wayback Machine archive of Stuart Harrison's site, such as a few animations, a game, and miscellaneous stuff. In addition to the .swifts, entire characters seem to be shrouded in mystery. A genie-like lemon character, referred to as Sadie and G-Hose on a few sites, appeared in a print ad once, and the creative director from the company that made the online site, Steve Williams, had posted a variant of the ad that was seemingly supposed to be used if Lemon won the flavor vote. Additionally, some sites made reference to a Raspberry Secret Agent character, referred to as Rubus or Secret Agent. Unlike the Lemon Genie, this Raspberry Secret Agent had no visual evidence to back up their existence. My Reddit post would actually end up bringing to light many leads thanks to the user u/degeneration7. This user recalled a comic strip featuring the mysterious Raspberry Agent character, and and claimed that they had saved all of the comic strips from their childhood, hoping that someday they'd dig them back up. They also recalled a website containing loads of content, like an unreleased commercial for Tropical Winders and art of all the fruit characters. They also dropped a bombshell by mentioning that comics similar to the ones on the backing paper had appeared in well-known comic books The Beano and The Dandy, spanning 2 pages. During conversation with them, they stated that they sold off their collection of comics but kept pictures of the Fruit Winders comics, until they were the victim of data loss. At first, this statement raised some suspicion, because something similar was pulled off by a presumed troll during the search for the infamous Murder Farm game. But after some of their leads have proved fruitful, I'm no longer skeptical of them. The first lead that proved fruitful was the existence of the Raspberry comics. The Generation suggested to contact Stuart Harrison to see if they had comics and was willing to share them. So I did, but I messed up my wording and I'm unsure if Stuart will ever get back to me. I went with another plan by contacting the person who runs the Cereal Mat channel, a cereal box toy collector who showed off a few old Fruit Winders comics and videos where he reviewed promotional items. He got back to me and was willing to share the original images used for the comics and some never-before-seen comics, including the only known Apple comic and 2 of the fabled Raspberry comics. The Raspberry comics were titled Raspberry Stealth, so while it isn't completely confirmed, Stealth may be the name of the 7th Chew Chat gang member. When it came to finding the comics from the Beano and the Dandy, I asked members of the Beano subreddit if they had comics from this time and were willing to help, and one user in particular, u/beesknees1009, came forward with pictures of 12 of the double-page comics, revealing them all to be in complete color. While the images aren't perfect, it's good enough to have them at all, and I'm very grateful for their contribution. The Tropical commercial was described by Degeneration to feature a grapefruit, passion fruit, and banana on a tropical island pier, ending up winded into a winder by Vujuice's magic powers, possibly using a boat. I eventually did end up finding the commercial. I found it when looking at the Vimeo page for someone involved with the commercials, and I got the bright idea to search the entirety of Vimeo for Fruit Winders, and I ended up finding Fruit Winders test commercial by Tony Lee and an additional animation test of a passion fruit. The test commercial featured the Tropical Trio fishing up Vujuice's hat, and Vujuice summons a giant octopus monster to smush and smear them against the pier, allowing him to make a tropical fruit winder. This was the biggest find so far, and it tremendously lifted my spirits for the following few days. It had been 4 months since Generation's last message on Reddit, and when they finally came back, they were amazed at the progress of the search and the accuracy of their own memory. They even recovered some of their old comics and sent it to me via email, some new, some old with new angles. The comics and commercial were the major things that weren't covered. Some things still remain a mystery. Lost in Hypothetical Media. I mainly made this video to spread the word about Fruit Winders' lost media, as there's not that many people actually interested in this stuff. There's still some mysteries that surround the brand, as well as some baseless speculation that may lead somewhere, and I'm here to spread the word to you. Hopefully some of you have some answers and are willing to share them with the world. That's what I'm here for. While there are already many comics that have turned up, it's always possible for there to be more. We only have a single Max comic and 2 Stealth comics, and we don't even know if there were Vujuice comics or if Tropical only came with this thing printed on the backing paper. Additionally, full-color comic strips are only known to exist for the original Chew Chat trio. People, if you still have backing paper or old Beano and Dandy comics, please share if possible. Some of the boxes and packaging associated with Screamin fruit aren't completely saved, particularly the Fruit Winders flavors released in 2003 and 2004. These packs may reveal instances of specific pieces of character art or special promotional items. Any box or wrapper is nice, but anything from late in the campaign's run is valued very much. The exact names of the Lemon Genie and Raspberry Agent characters aren't confirmed. We can only speculate from random wikis and the Raspberry Stealth strip. The characters also lack full 2D artwork, and we barely know what the Raspberry Agent's body looks like. Hopefully, one of you has some physical object with proof of their name or art of them, like a wrapper, box, or comic. There are some lost Flash material out there for the Chew Chat site, usually games, but it seems there are lost animations too. I'm not sure where these could be found, I just hope that they're somewhere. and I personally doubt any of you have them, but if you do, please let me know. There's this strange picture of a nerdy Nana character that I found on a Prezi page, and there's also a low-quality picture depicting early versions of the comic strips. These both seem to be from the ChewChat site in the year 2000, despite the whole ChewChat gang thing starting in 2001. I honestly don't even know, but if you know, please enlighten me. One of the final mysteries revolves around the commercials. Are the voices used for the ChewChat gang done by actual voice actors, or is it sourced from stock? I have the same question about the music as well. When it comes to the music, there is a known stock song used in a commercial, but the commercial completely lacks the ChewChat gang. In the commercial produced to advertise the Shark Tale tongue transfers, a funky music track plays. A full version of the song was uploaded to YouTube by the user Music, and while the user doesn't refer to the song by name, YouTube itself identified the music and appended the name and artist to the video, and I could dig up some additional information on the song thanks to the Production Music Wikia. The music is Turn It Loose by Fillmore Oaks, track 1 and 15 on the Production Music album XCD063 Funk. I attempted to use Shazam to identify the other songs from the commercials, but nothing was ever successfully identified. If you know the specific tracks used for some of the commercials, let me know. Unwind the fruity fun. Forever! That's as much as I can talk about. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to some internet weirdo talk about fruit snacks for a long time. When it comes to this campaign and investigating the mysteries surrounding it, any help is appreciated. Even just viewing this video helps. But if you do have anything of substance, a vague recollection, or a lead to follow, please let me know. Special thanks to Cereal Mad, The Hall of Advertising, Vinny from Vinesauce, u/Degeneration7, u/BSneeze1009, u/Inevitable Memory 61, the many YouTube channels that uploaded old recordings with the commercials included, the many YouTube channels that dug through those recordings and uploaded them on their own, the small ChewChat community on DeviantArt, and to everyone else who has inspired, supported, or followed by findings. I've been Starry Hoshio, and goodbye. Just a misinformation spread across the information. What? This isn't even really an outtake, there's just an error in my script, and I'm so sorry. I've already been a fan of lost media searches and the entire idea for years at this point, but suddenly I was motivated to discover and preserve media related to fruit linders.